on how to improve our application. So I ran into an API, not your usage limit. Server is temporarily limiting requests. Can you continue? I wonder if there's a lot of people that are online or making requests to Cloud Code. I'm not sure. So essentially what I did was I was trying to figure out how we can best do our deployment to the production website. And the issue I was running into is that anytime we would push to prod, we would have a downtime of like 2-3 minutes, and then the website would go live, right? On the VPS, we have an Nginx server running that would go down. So we came up with a couple scenarios, right? And after still working through it, it still kind of gave us an error where it was down for about 40 seconds, right? So I like that now the AI is kind of giving us this explanation where it's like, think of each worker like a car engine. A warm update reuses an already running engine instant, but a deploy ships brand new code. So the fresh workers start cold, and the first time someone opens a your heavy homepage, it loads a lot. A cold worker contains 10 seconds the very first time until it warms up. After those couple of hits, it's back to 0.3 seconds. Warm reloads don't take this hit. Fresh builds deploys do. So I'm guessing obviously it's talking about when we push something new to production, this new whatever instance needs people to actually, it needs a couple of seconds pretty much before it gets warmed up. So we went from old quick win. Add a warm-up engine before opening the doors step. Right after the new code is in place, the deploy hits the home page a few times internally so the workers are warm before real users arrive. I'm not sure what that exactly means. The deploy hits the home page a few times internally so the workers warm up. Not sure. Gold standard, more work. Build and fully warm the new version next door, then flip everyone over an instant. Truly invisible is the cold start, but a bigger change to set up. So I'm guessing it makes a full copy of everything in production and it's live and kind of running already, and then we just point it to that new instance. So I pretty much told it to research and say like, hey, how do big players handle this? Sites like Instagram and Facebook never edit code on a running server that we currently do. Stop the worker and start a new one. Instead, they run lots of servers behind traffic cop, a load balancer, and then the golden rule is the server gets 0 real users until it is fully started and proven it's healthy and warm. A server gets 0 really cold or half-ready server simply never receive visitors. That's the whole trick. Rolling update servers a few at a time while the rest keep serving. Repaint the store one wall at a time. It never closes. Blue and green, build a complete second copy with the new code next door, warm it up, then flip everyone over in one instant. If anything's wrong, flip them back. Build a new store next door, fully stocked and lit, then move the open sign over. This is a new gold standard that nobody can tell. Send the new version 1 to 2% of the users first, watch for problems, then ramp to 100%, let a few customers try it. Readiness checks. A new server isn't sent users when it's merely started, but only when it reports I'm fully warmed up and ready. This is literally the fix for the cold homepage thing we saw. Connection draining, graceful shutdown. Before a server is retired, the traffic cops stop sending it new visitors and lets it finish the ones it's already handling, so no request ever hits, a dying server hangs. These are the kind of questions that I would say that like a new person or new beginner who are trying to build, and AI kind of handles all of this and it tells you everything, so you never really have to get down into the nitty-gritty details of this. But if you are getting to the point where you are getting production ready and you're trying to really serve a lot of users and a lot of customers, you pretty much need to go through and know about how networking works to a certain degree. You need to know of how your servers are running, where they're running, downtime, runtime, all that kind of good stuff, right? Because this is an experience that the end users will immediately notice right away, right? If there is any delay, it's so evident that it's almost like you better have your app polished, right? Like on Uber Eats or DoorDash, if you ever see even a lag for an extra 5 seconds, I've seen it happen myself. My wife, like, we'll just close the app, restart it, like, oh, why is it down? And like, it's just frustrating, right? Like, people notice right away when something's like a little buggy, especially in this new era of just like instantaneous everything. So you literally cannot not deal with this issue. You have to tackle it. So And even this stuff is something that, like, again, I'm not the best at, right? And I'm just learning myself, but this is exactly how everyone does it. Like, whether you're like even Twitter, for example, when Elon came and fired everybody, like this man just like, yeah, we'll figure it out, and they did. But there was a lot of bugs in between, and they just figured it out. They just kind of like went with it. Like nobody knew exactly what was gonna happen. Like no one's that like. I guess I'm also trying to get my head and wrapped around this, where nobody in the space is like, besides a very select few people, right, that are so smart that you can't even replicate or you shouldn't even try, right? Like it's almost daunting sometimes. Like even back in the day when I first started coding, I'm like, maybe I'm not good enough. Like maybe I should stop. I'm not as good as and then I've noticed that when I've talked to like my coworkers or other people, you know, everyone kind of feels the same. There are obviously very smart people, but not everyone's smart in every single aspect, and you just got to find your niche, and you got to figure out what you're good at and stick to it. Like everybody has a role. Everybody knows what they might be good at, what they're a little bit better than somebody else at, right? Then you focus on those things and get better at, right? Somebody might be better at networking. Somebody might be better at design. Somebody might be better at even like using AI. Like there might be some really smart people who are really good at coding, but they might be conceptually terrible at prompting. Why? Because they might not know how to think of it from a humanistic standpoint of like building a future an app. They might think about it from more of a computer standpoint, and that doesn't help when it comes to marketing or other things. Like there's just a lot of there's a lot of ways to find your niche, pretty much is what I'm saying. So never think you're dumb. You might not just be smart as that person for writing assembly code, but you might be better at them and doing other parts, which is coming up with a solution that works for the business better. And they might be better at coming up with a solution to make the code optimize and go faster, right? That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to help the business just because it runs 2% quicker. But what might help the business is, even if the code is 20% slower, but it's providing more value, right? There's like trade-offs. Anyways, Facebook, Instagram deploys 40 times a day. Engineers commit auto tests and reaches 1,000 servers in 10 minutes of flow. Land code push to 2% production. Watch alerts roll to 100%. Facebook system conveyor runs. Gatekeeper release the code. Oh yeah. So yeah, I don't need all of this. This is crazy. S billion zero record quick win. Readiness warm up skill. After a new code is in place, warm the worker internally before the real traffic. This is a small version of readiness checks. Pre-warming closes most of the 40-second window. Low risk 10 minutes. Gold standard. So your instance right when it matches down. Do the website shouldn't be blink text chain. My recommended let do the warm up quick win, and rerun our exact test. And if you want to blueprint, okay, let's do the warm up. Let's do the warm up quick win. Let's see. I asked it pretty much to tell me if like what you would rate my design system right now. The functionalities, Dave, inquiry forms, quote building. Mostly I also built hollow shells with nice line. So one thing about my application is that it wasn't initially built with AI to start off with, right? I first got this idea a while back, and this was like early chat, not way before, but right before ChatGPT came out. When did ChatGPT come out? Like 2023? When did it come out? When was ChatGPT released? 2022, right? So it released at 2022. I had this idea like a year before to create this, and I actually ended up working on it a little bit myself. Got some devs that I hired off of Fiverr, paid them money to actually build this whole thing out. And then what happened was I was working, and I used to do a lot of scripting for my work, and the issue was that this app was I was trying to develop for Android and iOS, and I just genuinely, when you're trying to do multiple things when it comes to coding, it's a lot, especially before, it's kind of crazy that AI came and the whole coding industry and everything has changed, because before it was actually a very, very specific skill set that you really needed to have to be really good at these things, and you could just work on it and become really good and build your niche. Nowadays it's a lot trickier to become like really good because everyone has access to AI, and generally AI does almost 90%, 90 I would say 97% of things, as when it comes to the boilerplate side of things, not like the full-fledged shipping the entire product front end back end stuff, no, but as far as like actually doing the most of the work, as far as just designing something and having something running in a boilerplate, it does it better than anybody else I could think of. Like, you'll never be able to compete with AI for getting a blueprint up and running, right? Like, no matter how fast you think you can write HTML to get a website up and running, AI can literally build a 30-page website before you can even write an entire like one-page HTML full-fledged application, right? I remember I got books on Bootstrap. I was trying to figure out how to do mobile, like I was trying to use the Android emulator and React Native to build everything out on my MacBook, and I had so many issues with trying to run the actual mobile app simulation on my MacBook for trying to work with. Obviously, I was doing iOS on there, but I also needed to do Android, and I couldn't figure it out, and it was just causing a lot of issues. I had to get a Windows computer to do it, and then obviously Mac would work too, but it was just like this weird dependency with using Android SDK, and it was just a lot. And right, I just was into doing a lot of scripting stuff, and I wasn't into the mobile space, and it caused me a lot of issues, so I needed help, and I had to hire people to really help me design this out. And I had so many ideas that I had conceptualized that I really want this feature, but to ship it out I would have to tell somebody, and then that person would have to spend all their time, and they would have to work on this feature, and then if I liked the feature I would keep it. If not, then I would have to tell them to shift gears. It would cost a lot of money, and I'm like, man, this is so annoying because they're still not getting it right. And then obviously no one's going to care about your application and your product as much as you do. They just want their money, and I don't blame them. Anybody would, right? At the end of the day, we're all trying to survive, and we're all trying to make money, and we're all trying to provide value to a certain degree, and I think it makes sense, right? Certain people will obviously just not care about things, right? Because they're not going to get rich off of it. They just want their money, or they're not going to build or think of it as meaningful as you might, and that's just something you have to be okay with. But it came with the caveat or whatever, that it was just really hard to build this application on my own, and it was crazy. So I had to kind of like shelve it for a little bit, just focus on work, trying to get ahead, do other stuff. And then after ChatGPT came out, I was like, wow, this is actually really sick. And it helped me write pieces of code, right? Obviously, in the beginning when AI came out, it would help you write a lot of the boilerplate, and which I already was able to do and get like an app up and running. But I wasn't able to get it to the level where you'd be like, hey, can you rewrite this entire Android code to a web app, and can you get it up and running? Like, you would have to copy and paste the code, right? You have to copy and paste from one, like you would have to get a snippet, and then ChatGPT would run out of freaking context, and then it would only give you a little bit of code, and then you would take that code and then feed it again and be like, can you finish the rest of the code? Oh my God, it was just like a nightmare. It would almost take you just as long to learn, if not trying to tell ChatGPT to piece the codes together and to write you consistent code. It just would not work, right? And so slowly, with how fast things move, obviously 2022 to 2026, 4 years is a long time in tech, but we've gotten to the point where I was able to get all the ideas I had conceptually in my head into this app finally. But the original one was never built by AI, right? It was always built with an actual company that deals with Android and iOS applications, and I decided to go ahead and make it a web app just because I thought, it'd be really annoying to tell people to download an application. So I was like, hey, it makes sense as a web app, and then later on we can go ahead and create the Android iOS. But now I can just do this myself because I have enough insight into how things should work within technology. Like, I know how to do most of the I know how to do most of the stuff. When it comes down to the really like detailed things, when it comes to networking, when it comes to the front end UI design, I can just ask AI, right? When the back end stuff, I can deal with myself, and I know how to prompt it and stuff. The front end, I know how to prompt it. I just didn't know how to do it myself, right? Because it was just a lot of organization. Like, it's so crazy how quickly you forget code. There's so much TypeScript. You have to tie every single button to every single action. You have to route all of it. You have to create the APIs. It just ends up becoming such a big application. and it's a lot, right? And it's kind of crazy that we used to just all do this like manually, Stack Overflow everything, and now you just have AI doing everything. And I can't remember the last time you used Stack Overflow, but that's what life is. You just adapt and you continue moving, right? You don't try to like shit on it, right? Like you don't like. I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, AI is still kind of like you can't just write AI code to go into production. I mean, sure you can. You just need to do a really good job of managing it because AI is still at the end of the day not fully competent on its own. It's still pretty dumb. You have to guide it. You're pretty much guiding a junior developer to create you a production level application. It's still your ideas, it's still your thoughts, it's still your brain to like continue plugging it along. If you just told a junior dev to ship it out, it's going to give you a shitty junior dev product. But with with your mindset and the things that you know and the things that you can prompt it, you can get it to give you a really production level application, as long as you keep working with it, right? That's it. So, anyways, the UI is drifted because design values are. Oh, this is all the way to the top. Okay, so I got a 7 out of 10. Why did I get a 7 out of 10? The app is good, but when I compare to Screenshot, which makes Airbnb, Booksy, Instagram, Spotify, there's a pattern to what separates a 7 from a 9. Restraint per card, the biggest gap. This is look at your service listing cards. Image, thumbnail, inquiry, only, badge overlay, plus provider avatar, plus provider name, plus nearby dot, get a quote, chat button, book button, heart, icon, share icon. That's 10 pieces of information on one card. Now look at Airbnb card. Photo, name, rating, 4 things. That's it. Booksy, photo, name, rating. The human eye can't prioritize when everything has equal weight. Your cards are informative but not scannable. A buyer scrolling fast can't instantly compare services because every card is visually dense. The chat button, the share icon, the heart are all competing for attention with the actual booking action. I don't know about that. Too many font sizes. I do agree with the font size. You have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's 20 different words. The differences between JSON 9 versus 10, 10 versus 11 are invisible to you. It creates visual noise. That I agree with. Airbnb effectively uses 4 sizes, Instagram 3 sizes, orange avatar fallback screen incomplete. Every provider without a profile photo gets a bright orange circle with their initials. It's the loudest element on the card, brighter than the CTA button. When 40% of the card tapped as the feed looks like an app in beta, Airbnb uses a soft gray circle. Booksy uses a muted icon. The fallback should be the quietest element, not the loudest. I love that feedback. That is some amazing feedback, at least in my head. Obviously, it's so apparent, but I was just not even thinking about. And I always thought like, oh, when users come on, maybe they'll put in their profile photos and they'll look better. But then a lot of people don't add images right away, especially on a random app, right? So that's a really good, really important point. Social feed. Your homepage makes this too mental. I'm scrolling a social feed, Instagram style, and I'm shopping for services marketplace. These are different user modes. Instagram never asks you to buy, mid-scroll. Amazon never asks you to like a product, Booksy, and Thumbtack separate these. The feed is the marketplace. Social proof reviews is embedded within the marketplace, not as a separate social layer. See, this is where I don't agree with, because the social feed and the marketplace cognitive load is what we're trying to achieve, right? This is what I want. I think everyone at the end of the day is going to be compensated for the services that they can provide in this new era of AI, right? We're going to get to the point where the way that you can essentially make money is your side hustles. And I think it's just like, there's just going to be a lot of opportunity and continuing to more opportunity when it comes to side hustles, and especially with AI. And it's going to be a lot of service based, right? A lot of actual in-person vendors and stuff. And this is what I think the future might be, as far as like people working, right? When it comes to like, I don't know, it's like a scary world I think of. But right now, all I know in the next 2-3 years, 3 to 4 years even, there's no way that the amount of vendors are going to decline, the amount of side hustlers are going to decline, because of the amount of parties people are throwing, the amount of events people have, the amount of social gatherings, the amount of needs that people have, the convenience that we live in. Everything is almost like, even you can't even do like, the issue is like opening up a store nowadays is becoming very tough for people to do. Opening up a business is a very, very risky investment going into the future, unless you have a really solid idea, because things are closing so fast, rent goes up, it's hard to maintain that. But you can always do a side hustle that works out of your house, works out of your car, that you have a small, like, ghost kitchen and all that kind of stuff. You can get things up and running. And I think that's going to continue to grow as people venture out and try more things, especially with AI becoming easy way for them to manage all of their stuff. Before, I feel like opening up anything or doing like bookkeeping and marketing and doing the whole legal stuff was very daunting because you would have to get all that. But now, since AI can handle a lot of these things, people will be more inclined to try to start businesses, and they might start small. And I think that's where market also really comes in. The hero gradient feels tempted. Find something great. It's kind of a generic Airbnb marketplace compared to Airbnb store that just sits there with no hair card, just a search it. But it says we're so confident. Yeah, but I'm not there yet, buddy. Right? Like, I don't need you to sell you on this concept. Like, I understand that, but like, no, this is where I would have to try to give it a different voice. 3 changes. Here's what: simplify the service card to 5. Remove chat, share, heart. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. Maybe. I mean, it does make sense, and I probably do. Like, it's pretty much saying that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or so things. But at the end of the day, I still think book and chat are the most apparent things, right? I don't necessarily think it's a cognitive overload in my head, but maybe I'm wrong. Collapse from 10 to 6. This I agree with. The AI small test, the things that make an app, every possible feature crammed on screen, uniform visual height, nothing is more important than the fix of all these restrained designs of to analysis include everything. The most polished apps feel empty compared to AI, and that's emptiness is what feels premium. It sounds very compelling. At the end of the day, like, you gotta listen to yourself. AI will obviously give it suggestions, and you give it the voice that it needs. And I wish I told it to, like, I don't know where it's getting this information and details from, but I know there's certain things that I want, and I'm gonna continue pushing on that, right? So let me go ahead and tell it. Okay, so I really like your feedback. So let me give you a different perspective on what I'm thinking, and I want you to kind of do not just give me a yes or no answer. Don't just agree with me. Obviously, push back on me, but also don't just follow exactly what the industry is doing either, right? Try to understand where we are coming from as our positioning in the market. So let me give a pointer to each of these that you gave me. Restraint per card, the biggest gap. So you mentioned there's a lot of things on each of the cards, and I do agree with you that I do think there is a lot of things, and we can condense some of this stuff down, but I think maybe removing the inquiry only thing might be one, get a quote might be one. Maybe we just need one of them. But I think it's fine. Everyone recognizes the heart and the share button. It's kind of like subconsciously there. It's not like an orange color or anything. It's white. So I think you can ignore that. The thing that still stands out on every single card is book and chat. And I think that's what's important. And then the inquiry only or get a quote makes sense if it's an instant booking, and I'll show you an instant booking. If it's get a quote, I'll show you get a quote. So I think that is all fine for point number 1. But it is a good point, and in the future, I will think about trying to go ahead and nailing it down. Number 2, you can go ahead and condense the font sizes. I do agree with you that there's way too many font sizes, and it doesn't make sense to have 9 sizes. Number 3 is very important. I think that's actually the number 1 thing for me right now when we do not have a lot of customers and stuff. I think you should go ahead and use a very muted sort of icon color for that. So go ahead and change number 3 as you think, so we can take any sort of attention towards the user's icon. If it's, big bright orange one, let's take that out. Number 4, the social feed and marketplace. The whole point of our application is to mesh both of them, right? And I do understand that you should separate this out, but I am trying to make people monetize themselves, like monetize their services, whatever it might be. Right now, it's a service for like a vendor or whatever. In the future, you can just monetize anything that you're selling about yourself, right? I don't know. Maybe that's where we're headed in the future, where you monetize, I don't know, whatever it might be. But the whole idea is you're monetizing your services, right? And we want it to be a social thing where what people are selling near you in your neighborhood, like, hey, what this person does, like what they have to offer and stuff like that, right? The hero gradient, I understand what you're saying with that one. I think we can keep it for now because we aren't at Airbnb's level. I don't know what their app looked like when they first started, but we are not there yet, and that's why they don't need to write that in their product. When we get there, obviously I can take that out. So based off of that feedback, go ahead and do the things that I told you about. And then I guess, yeah, I think do go ahead and make those changes and then we'll go from there. I think that's good enough for right now. Okay. Let's go ahead and go from there. So one thing I don't like necessarily that I do want to change is this like gray area-ish here, but I just don't necessarily know if I should make it white. I don't know what to do with that area, but I'll leave it for now because too many UI tweaks always cause a big problem. All right, it's hard. Products, services, messages, my bookings. I don't like how there's not a bar. There's a bar everywhere, so there's not a bar there. Is there a bar for bookings? Dashboard, my listings, my hustles, inquiries, saved. Yeah, so messages is the only one where there's not like a little nav bar to go back, and I think that's very annoying. I think we should add that back. Oh, it finished running. The warm-up helped but didn't fully fix it. Last time the warm-up 3 homepage loads failed during the swap. This time with warm-up 2 failed and the rest were faster. Why the warm-up isn't enough? The warm-up runs right after the swap, but the actual problem is a split second during the swap. When the old worker hands up, there's a brief instant where the brand new cold worker is the only one answering, and the warm-up runs after can't cover. With your heavy homepage, a cold first runner could take 10, so unlucky 1-2 people load. In that 38-second window hit. This is exactly what a big sites don't reload workers in place at all. They use blue-green build, the new version off to the side, fully warm it up. Before any of this, every deploy equals the whole site down. Now, 2 workers warm. The site stays up for 99% of requests. During the worst case, a couple of pages loads slower. Do blue-green, it's the actual fix on what's Instagram. One on your single server, it means that run the new version on side port, fully warm it up, then flip traffic cop. One graceful instant, the flip itself causes no downtime, keeping the old one as instant rollback. It's more setup than warm up, and it never touches your observer. So a mistake there could affect the site, which is why I want your go have a problem. I'll do the recurve with the same ladder. I don't know. This is where I would kind of like possibly want to go ahead and ask Codex or another AI to critique this. So let me go ahead and just take this that I have. I had Cursor for like a month and I think it like was canceling. Let me go ahead, take this plan. I want to critique it and be like, you know, does this seem like a good idea or not? Okay, let's see what it said. Okay, short answer, Claude's diagnosis right. Blue Green would remove the last deploy blip for your setup. A 2 gig digital ocean. Droplet load depends deploy frequency and traffic where 2 bad home is already a big win. It's probably overkill right now and it carries real RAM risk. I wouldn't rush it unless deploy glitches are actually hurting users. What's actually going on? Your front end runs as a 2 p.m. workers on port 3030, rolling reload, user, Nginx, worker A, else worker B cold. The site doesn't go fully down, a huge improvement. There's a short window where one worker is brand new and cold. Your homepage is heavy. Render hertz, supposed reload warm. And it's accurate, it's blue green right there. Technically, yes. Runs a new app on the side port, warm it up. Well, will it work? It can work, but your specs are tight. Each front end worker is capped, and you have 2 back end, 2 front end, plus admin bills. Deploys already cause long swaps. If you deploy a few times a week and have modest traffic, critique what solid root causes, what's overkill, Instagram, Facebook, library, scale, different budget, don't let that imply. What I do instead, live with the current setup, shrink the cold start file, fix the deploy, RS caching, unhappy pace, scaling, run Mac calls this out, Cloudflare in front, free also helps day to day. Or ladder deploy tweak before spin up a temporary third work on a side port, rolling or pop it up to 3, so 2 stay out while 1 reloads. Okay, I like this too. So I like, let's do this. Let's go ahead. Oh, this is the, let's do this. Okay, so this one is still kind of making our AI avatars. I think it's putting it to a gray, muted gray color or whatever. So let it work on that, and I think that's the stream for today. I might go to sleep. I got to actually work in the morning, do stuff, but yeah.